Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Odds Now YouTube channel for the latest episode of the FA Cup betting show. You're used to my face on your screens alongside my normal co-host Matt Hill for the Premier League betting show on a weekly basis. But of course, there are no Premier League games this weekend. It is FA Cup weekend. We've got 4 quarterfinals up, all of which we're going to take a closer look at in this video. I'm going to put up a couple of best bets from each of those games that I've scoped out myself too. But before we get into all of that, please do subscribe to the channel. Plenty of sports betting preview content going up over the next couple of weeks and months, and of course at oddsnow.com where you can find betting content in written form. Now let's get straight into this today. As I said, I want to keep this run relatively short. There are 4 matches to run through. We'll start on the Saturday early kickoff, which of course is a London derby between Fulham and Crystal Palace at Craven Cottage. Now, these two sides last met at Craven Cottage as recently as last month, now where Crystal Palace picked up a 2-0 win, courtesy of an own goal from, of course, former Palace defender Joachim Andersen and also a Jean-Philippe Mateta strike. Now, the Frenchman Mateta is set to return this weekend following that horror injury picked up in the last round versus Millwall, which will, of course, be a big boost for Palace. But when looking at Fulham's form, they have responded well to that defeat. They've won 3 of the 4 matches which have followed since their loss against Palace last month, the only blemish being a 2-1 loss at Brighton. But Palace themselves are also in a very impressive form, particularly on the road. They boast the 7th best away record in the Premier League this season, Crystal Palace, remarkably, and they've actually won each of their last 6 games on their travels. So it's a very intriguing game. Both sides in good form, both sides enjoying positive seasons, and that makes finding the betting angle quite difficult sometimes under those circumstances. But I have found one selection which really does appeal to me. It's a player prop line, and it surrounds Crystal Palace midfielder Will Hughes. Now, no Premier League player has been booked more times than Hughes this season. He's been booked 10 times so far. He was actually forced to sit out Palace's recent win at Ipswich through suspension after picking up his 10th of the season against Aston Villa the week before. That means he's now been booked in 3 of his last 4 Premier League appearances. He's given away 4, 2, 3, and 4 fouls during each of those games, yet he comes in at over 3-1 to be carded again this weekend. He was also booked in Palace's 2-1 win at Craven Cottage last month. So there's plenty of value, I think, in backing Hughes to be shown a card this weekend at a price of 7-2, a very generous price in my eyes. That comes in with multiple sports books. I'll get that for you now on the screens. You can see there my best bet for this game. Will Hughes to be shown a card, 7-2 generally across the board. We will run through all of my best bets for the quarterfinals this weekend at the end of the video too. But yeah, that's where I'll be going for that one, Fulham versus Crystal Palace. Now on to the second game on Saturday. Takes place later in the day at 5:15 p.m. Brighton hosting Nottingham Forest down at the Amex. Now, Brighton, they suffered a bit of a slump in and around December in their form, but they've now only lost 2 matches in 2025 so far. They are one of the most informed teams in the Premier League. I think only Liverpool, who of course boast a healthy lead at the top of the Premier League, have picked up more points than the 13 Brighton have picked up in their last 6 matches. And Brighton haven't lost actually since a 7-0 bashing away at, coincidentally, Nottingham Forest, which took place at the start of February. Forest themselves are also continuing their impressive season, which they will hope culminates with qualification for Champions League football next term. They're unbeaten in the last 4 matches for us since suffering defeats to Fulham and Newcastle in February. And I've actually put up 2 selections for this game. My first one, I'm going to get it on your screen now before I talk through it. Brighton to win and both teams to score, as you can see there, coming in at 13-5 with Bet365 at the time of recording. I don't think there's enough value in backing the Brighton win alone. It comes in as short as 3-4 in some places, just basically because of what we've seen from Forest this season. But Forest have struggled on the road recently. They've won only 2 of their last 5 away games, one being a penalty shootout win over League One side Exeter previously in this competition. But Forest have actually scored in 8 of their last 9 away matches, while Brighton only have 3 clean sheets at home in the Premier League so far. So I think it's worth boosting that price on a Brighton win a little further by adding the caveat of both teams to score. I think Brighton are in a real good place right now. As I said, they've really picked up since the turn of the year. And yeah, I'm sure I'm going to back them to secure a spot in the semi-finals, but I do think Forest will land a glove on them before they get there. My second best bet for this game focuses on Brighton forward João Pedro. Now, the Brazilian has been in great form in recent weeks. He scored 3 goals in his last 4 appearances in the Premier League. 5 of his 8 goals this season have also came at the Amex. Given the fact that Nottingham Forest don't have a clean sheet on the road since the first week of January, it's worth a tipple in my eyes on backing him to score again here. Again, the generous 2-1 price also with Bet365. So both of my selections for the second game of the weekend coming with Bet365. Brighton to win and both teams to score at 13-5, and then João Pedro to score anytime. Now, we're keeping this one, like I said, this video nice, short and sweet. So I'm going to push on to the third game, which takes place at Deepdale on Sunday afternoon. Preston North End hosting Aston Villa. Preston, of course, the only non-Premier League side left in the competition. Move on to my notes. Yeah, Preston, they've only lost 3 games in their last 16 matches in all competitions. While a playoff push is very unlikely in the Championship, I think they're around 10 points off the playoff in around 14th place. An appearance at Wembley is certainly on the cards if they can find a way past Aston Villa this weekend. And now Preston raised eyebrows with a 3-0 win over Burnley in the Lancashire Derby in the previous round. Of course, that's a Burnley side who are competing very well in the Championship and have only conceded 11 goals all season in the Championship. So speaks volumes to Preston's performance really in the last round of this competition. But they do face an Aston Villa side who have found their stride in recent weeks. I think it's fair to say they've won their last 4 matches in a row in all competitions, Villa, and wins over Bruges and Brentford on the road ended a 3-match losing streak in away fixtures. This is their first appearance away from home in the FA Cup this season, Aston Villa. All 3 of their previous ties have been at Villa Park, and they have only won 1 of their last 8 away games in the FA Cup, Villa. So there's a little reason for optimism there if you're Preston North End. Having said that, I don't think Preston are going to win this weekend, as you're going to see now, my best bet. But Preston, they're rightly underdogs, aren't they, against Aston Villa? Villa undoubtedly boast much higher quality and are rightly favourites. But they have struggled to keep clean sheets this term, Villa. They've only picked up 4 in the Premier League so far. They've also conceded in 2 of their 3 appearances in the FA Cup this season. So while I do think Villa will proceed to the semi-finals, I'm also going to back Preston to nick a goal before they do so. Now, Preston have scored in 74% of their games in the Championship this season, and they've also scored in 5 of their last 7 games in all competitions. Yet the Villa win with both teams scoring still comes in at a very generous, again, I think 21-10, just over 2-1 with multiple sports books, and that is a price in my eyes it's just worth jumping on based on everything that I've just ran you through there. From these 2 sides, it's an intriguing side, definitely. A massive game for Preston, massive game for Villa as well, who are of course hoping to replicate what Newcastle did earlier this month and break their major trophy hoodoo. As I said, keeping this video nice and quick, and we'll move on to the 4th and final game of the weekend, which takes place down on the south coast. Bournemouth taking on Man City, an all Premier League affair, very intriguing game too. I think it's fair to say that neither of these sides are in great form heading into this one. Bournemouth certainly the more happier out of the 2 in terms of how their season is going, but their form has dropped off a little now, Bournemouth, leaving them at 10th in the Premier League. Their penalty shootout win over Wolves in the previous round is their only win in their last 5 in all competitions. Bournemouth have also failed to win any of their last 4 in the Premier League, 3 of which ended in defeat. But they did pick up a 2-1 win over Manchester City at the Vitality earlier in the season. The champions, Man City, wow, what can we say about them really that hasn't already been said? They've endured a pretty dismal season, it's fair to say, isn't it? But they could still add a trophy here by winning the FA Cup. Their 3-1 win over Plymouth in the last round is one of only 2 wins in their last 6 games in all competitions. They've also lost 5 of their last 10 away games, Pep Guardiola's men. So certainly not a convincing record, I think it's fair to say, heading into this one. Now, my picks around this game are going to centre around one man, which, if combined, make for a tidy little 5-1 double, I think. And that man is Antoine Semenyo. He has been one of Bournemouth's standout players this season, Semenyo. But he has also caught the eye in terms of the number of fouls he has conceded. Now, only Liam Delap of Ipswich has given away more fouls than Semenyo's 59 so far. He's already served a 1-match suspension earlier in the season due to the amount of yellow cards picked up, and he currently has 9 to his name now in the Premier League. In fact, he's been booked as well in 4 of his last 5 league appearances. He was also booked in Bournemouth's 5-1 win over West Brom in the 3rd round. He averages 2.1 fouls a game in the Premier League so far, and I think backing him to be carded again this weekend could prove an astute pick. Like I said, this does form part of a double, which comes to a combined price of 5-1. But that as a single, this one, Semenyo to be shown a card is available as well for a very wide 18-5. So just over 3-1, not far off 4-1 on a Semenyo card. I think that price is brilliant, really. You snatch your hand off of that bait on its own based off what I've just discussed there. But like I said, that's one of two picks for this game centering around Semenyo that I'm going to go with. And the second one, as you can see on your screen now, is for him to have over 2.5 shots, which comes in at 8-11 with bet 365. Now, only 3 players have taken more shots than the Ghanaian this term in the Premier League. He's taken 101 in total. And that's only 5 off Mohamed Salah, who has taken a league best 106. That leaves Semenyo with an average of 3.6 per game. If you add Man City's defensive troubles to the mix, they've only kept 7 league clean sheets all season, and they've only kept 1 clean sheet in their last 6 games in all competitions. And the fact that Semenyo recorded 2 shots one of which went in his side's 2-1 win over Man City in November, which ended Man City's 32-match unbeaten run in the Premier League. I think it's certainly worth banking on him mustering an even better return this time around against the Man City defence, considerably lacking in confidence compared to the one which Bournemouth faced back in November. On its own, that's available for a price of 8-11, which again, I think is more than fair based on everything I've just said there. But as I said, doubled up with the above selection that comes in into a combined price of 5-1 with William Hill. That's Semenyo to be shown a card and also to take over 2.5 shots. As I said, I wanted to keep this one nice and short and sweet. But before I do sign off, I am going to run you through my best bets now on screen before we sign off the video. Now, there you are. You can see all of the bets that I've run you through in this video on your screen now. We'll start with Fulham versus Crystal Palace. I'm going to go with Will Hughes to be shown a card at 7-2 generally. Brighton, Nottingham Forest. I'm going to go for a Brighton win with both teams scoring at 13-5, while I'm also going to back João Pedro to score anytime he's in good form. That comes in at 2-1. Both of those are with bet 365. Preston versus Villa. I'm going to back the Aston Villa win and both teams scoring 21-10 with multiple sports books. And then Bournemouth versus Manchester City. I'm going to go for Antoine Semenyo to be shown a card at 18-5. Semenyo also to take over 2.5 shots, which on its own stands at 8-11, and you can combine both of them for a tidy 5-1 double with William Hill. If I had to push myself there and put up my nap out of all of those, I probably would go for Semenyo to be shown a card. I like that one based on everything that I said earlier in the video. Like I say, he gives a lot of fouls away. He's been booked, I think, with 4 in his last 5 Premier League appearances too. So yeah, I'll probably go for that one there. Now, that does conclude my FA Cup betting preview for the weekend's fixtures. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the best bets I've put up. Would you agree with me on everything, or would you change a few things yourself? Let me know what bets you're going to be putting up this weekend too. And like I said earlier in the video, please do like and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all the latest sports betting preview content. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.